I was thinking like Qui Gong and how I've been listening to the gongs, right? Because of the sound, because of the resonance of the gongs. So I did the Chinese medicine. Now, what uh, Zacchaeus was talking about was related to, with the tick, and all of that is related to your ki or chi, right? And one of my sky photos, actually, it's a video. Um, it's a video, right? Whenever I um, screenshot it, strip back the color or whatever, there is a tick on it, right? So it's related to this particular medicine, right? So I woke up today and I was like, man, I've got to go to the store and I've got to pick up some things that I'll need for work tonight, right? And so I've just been thinking. I've been thinking about this morning, and I want to talk more about like when we're in environments where like the ingredients are like perfect to trigger something within you, right? I feel like a lot of anger that gets circulated around is from people's non awareness of this, right? There were a couple of things that I left out. I really try not to leave things out. And it's only whenever I listen back to it that I'm like, that was actually very important and I should have spoke on that, right? Um, One detail that I left out was when my supervisor was talking about when she was 19, right? She was 19 and she got pregnant and she needed her mother's help. And her mother told her to pray about it, right? But she's also currently in a situation to where someone's treating her like garbage on this church property, right? Treating her like garbage. When people know that you're at a disadvantage, and when people know that you are in some way reliant on them, even if it's an event exchange, right? Even if you are paying them, if you could, it's like indentured servitude, right? It's an unfair, unequal exchange. The agreement is I pay this amount of money to you to live here, right? So where does all this extra stuff come from, right? But because you don't own it or because it's not yours, then you automatically feel powerless should they act in an unsavory way towards you, right? There is this strange thing, and especially among poor people, that should they have something that they know that another person don't, or they know that somebody doesn't have like family or a support system, that they think they can just bully them and treat them however they want, right? They think they can just bully them and treat them however they want. And they will, right? And so the person who doesn't have any other options or any other support or whatever will accommodate this fuckery, right? And lose themselves in the process, right? They'll be miserable in the process. They will be overexerting, over giving, over doing, over everything, right? It is I have to pour everything out of my cup, and you're just sitting like king or queen, right? And it becomes a bully dynamic, right? Like I've been in this situation. People who come from um, God forbid you share the wrong information with the wrong people. And that says nothing about myself or people like me, right? That are in those situations. That says nothing, but it says every fucking thing about these people. Yes, right? Like, because these are the same people that will go out into society, into their communities, and will put on some sort of like godly or saintly face. And in the meantime, if people knew that they were bullying, making fun of, intentionally triggering, um, just being nasty to those they claim to help, right? They would not be looked at the same, right? And I feel like when this is why building your self-esteem, your self-reliance, and um, going with the flow, right, is so important, right? Never feel so stuck somewhere that you feel that you don't have any support. Your support doesn't actually come from humans, okay? It doesn't, right? And this was a lesson that I learned when I was just done, right? Because I would have rather been homeless and living in a tent than to be someone's prisoner any longer, right? And once I did that, let me tell you, like, I wasn't like, of course, like I had to, there was a lot of emotions that I had to like get out and yada yada, right? And to process emotions that I wasn't able to, right? Because people they make fun of you if you like um, show any signs of like weakness or sadness or whatever, right? Like there were emotions that I had to like just in my own space and, to get out, right? Even if that meant like crying on the fucking pavement like all night because I'm just fucking like just need to release like everything, right? And then and then with all of this free movement, right? Like when you don't feel like you're just fucking trapped like a fucking scared animal, right? Like you start moving again, right? And you start enjoying and seeing life again. Like it's so freeing, right? It's so freeing. It's so freeing. So freeing. And most people will never like experience that because they will remain in a particular mindset or a particular situation because I think that they have to suffer, right? So we're going to go back to the combination of things that she spoke about really hit hard with me, right? Because I have been in these situations, right? And then to see who I saw. Do you know that the sister who ran her fucking mouth to me, that's just a testament. That is a testament of how I was treated in private, how they were allowed to treat me in private. That is a testament to the bully behavior that had been going on for years, right? That's a testament to where are you going to go? Who's going to help you, right? Whenever someone feels like they have the advantage and you are at a disadvantage, oh, they make you well aware of it. And they made me well aware of it. Yeah, they did. And they never expected, right? But do you know, one day I was sitting out on the patio, right? And I heard her mother say to her boyfriend during her little, like, she was married to a wealthy man, right? Somebody who was more advantageous than her, right? Like, crooked judge, everything, right? Because of money, right? Same situation here, yeah? So I'm sitting out on the patio one day, right? And I hear her mother say, to her boyfriend. Just the most awful things. Well, you know she's going to leave you whenever she finds something better. Like, blah, blah, blah. I was fucking appalled, right? And the reason that I reached out to her, right, because I had that empathy for her. I was like, I cannot believe I am hearing what I'm hearing, that I am watching what I am watching, right? Like, I know this woman is vile, but that's vile, right? And that's vile because the pedo, yeah, that raised me, he did the same exact fucking thing. He did the exact same fucking thing. Like, I was married once, and he said some sideways shit in front of my mother-in-law and my fucking ex-husband, right? Like that, except for they didn't, they knew, right? They knew what type of person he was. They never, ever, ever, like, mocked me the way these people did. They never, ever, like, they never did that, right? They never did that. And they actually made me aware of it. And my mother-in-law was she was even like, I could not fucking believe, like, that I was listening to this, right? Like, that he was saying this, right? Because whenever you come from homes like that, like, you could spend forever wanting something that you'll never have, right? Accepting that just isn't part of your life, that just isn't part of your experience while you're here, is probably going to be like one of the biggest realizations. It's one of the best realizations and best understandings that you can come to give you peace inward, right? Is that you're constantly fed a narrative, you're constantly given a script, and although you may be doing the same exact things that everyone else is doing because the world operates that way, that doesn't mean that that the results are going to be the same, right? Because you don't have the same ingredients to make that kind of pie, right? Like, and that, see how that causes like a conflict too, right? It's like, but I have to do all of these things like everybody else does, right? Like, but this is my situation. And then that just causes a whole other set of events, right? Like a whole other, there's just more to it, right? So I thought about that. And I really think that that's just like the premise of what aggravates me most, right? This has been a constant thing in my life where people think that they have the advantage, right? So they just treat you like garbage, talk to you like garbage. You're not even a person, you're like subhuman to them, right? It's sickening. It's sickening. And the first ones to do it, the first ones to do it are the ones that claim that they are so godly, are the first ones that are the first feet in the door on in that church on Sunday morning, aren't they? Right? They are. Right? They are. It's their culture. Isn't it? This is, I'm king, and I can treat you however the fuck I want. Because my system doesn't work for you. Right? Or I'm related to so and so, so I'll just call up and make those calls and we'll just fucking put you at an even greater disadvantage, right? Right. Sickening, right? And then those people, even if these people go through this shit themselves, they will come and attack you and talk shit to you. And it's like, girl, What are you doing? Right? That's why I was just quiet. I was like, what in the hell? Right? Like, clearly you're going through something, so, right? But this also made me think about, like, with the Christmas thing, right? Like, I made sure, like, my supervisor was so, remember me saying, like, she was just so kind, right? Like, and people like me, we're surprised when people do kind things, right? Like, that just doesn't fucking happen, okay? All right, like our lives were not designed in a way where that shit just fucking happens. We're the ones making it happen for everybody else, right? We're the ones fucking doing that. Yeah. It's not those other, it's not them. Okay. It's us. So when she, out of her own pocket, and we all make the same amount of money and it ain't shit, right? Goes and does something special for everyone else. I was just so surprised, right? And I knew, right? I can tell, like, people who are like me. Yeah. I can tell. I can, like, I can pick them out. I know because of their actions, right? Because of what they do and how they do it, how they operate. Right? It's very fucking rare. Yeah. And I don't celebrate Christmas, right? I have my own issues with, like, their stuff, right? And even outside of that, I have my own issues with my own things that uh, they're not triggers anymore, right? But there were things that were intentionally done to me, like uh, on purpose to single me out in a negative way, right? During those times, I just don't participate in them. I don't, right? Now it's more of a cultural thing. It's more of a, I understand, like, the design behind these things, so I choose not to participate in them, right? Um, but first it was managing those things, and then it became whenever I was in a higher vibration, like an understanding, and through study and stuff, made a choice that this is not something I want to participate in, right? But I did go and I took the things that I had, the information that I had gathered from her as far as like what she likes and yada yada, and did something special for her and her only, right? For Christmas. And when I hear what I heard this morning, this is why it is so important for, like, and I'm just going to speak to the women community right now, right? This is why it's so important for women to, like, listen and uplift one another, right? The separation shit is crazy, right? It's crazy. See, although, you know, I can't help what man's court does, I don't want to put it like that. They operate the way that they operate, right? And outside of that, like my mother, listen, my mother, my grandmother, my great grandmother, uh, my papa, and my step grandmother, we'll just call her a step grandmother, yeah. Uh, my aunts and my uncles, yes. European, yes. Immigrants, right? This isn't some distant, they immigrated. No, like immigrated in my lifetime, right? Like I live with them, yeah. Like had a harmonious house, right? All the women get along. All the women are in the same room, right? All the women are focused on children are happy, right? Just doing their thing. None of that petty shit, right? So I didn't. They say you develop what you're whatever by the age of 5, right? Like I did not. I did not have a bad view or some skewed version of women's relationships, right? I didn't. So when I watch things like that, like I did on the patio, right? I'm like, oh, what the fuck is going on here, right? That because that's not how I was raised, right? It's not how I was raised. Like they may talk a lot of shit about me because of what my sperm donor did, right? But uh as far as like my mother's family, like we don't operate like that, right? Like so what's your excuse? Like what's going on here? What's going on here, right? Like so anyways, with my supervisor, like I just felt really, really like it was important to me because of seeing her kindness towards people, and she doesn't have to do that, right? She's just choosing to do that. So I chose to make it very, very like special for her for Christmas, right? And then hearing what I heard today, this is why it's important that we focus on uplifting people and we focus on whenever our heart says to do something kind for someone or our heart recognizes that goodness in another, to go out of our way to be good to people, right? Because you are never going to look back on something good that you've done for someone and have regrets. You're never going to look back on something that good that you've done and feel any other way except for I'm glad I did that, right? I can see why it was so important as it unfolds. I can see why it is so important that I did that, right? Like today, I find out through this other little piece of like personal information she chooses to share with me, right? That it was even more important for me to do that for her, right? To make that special for her, right? Because chances are nobody did it for her, right? Especially not a female, right? So when we act in a way and conduct ourselves in a way in others' lives, we can help them uh, heal some part in an indirect way, heal some part of their traumas, right? And then it allows me to see if I'm still triggered about something, sort through that, figure out, we'll have this conversation, right? Um, Sort through the goodness, where I still need work, right? Like what is upsetting me. And we try to balance all of these things out, right? So that we can learn what it is we need to learn emotionally, consciously with the situation that we're presented with, right? Something else. She's been complaining for the last 2 weeks that she has not wanted to come in and blah, blah, blah. There is, I've already told you the situation with the other employee who just comes in and stirs shit, right? So then that makes her think of her mother, right? Like, but then also the pregnant cat. Like, we're not supposed to feed the cats. And I knew she was feeding the cats because the cat comes in only at the time that she comes in, right? So I know she's feeding the cats, right? And so I had brought the little things. And I was waiting for little Kitty to come out last night, but little Kitty never came. And so I was like, well, I guess I'll just keep it in my car until next week, right? Because I'm only down there once a week. After I told her that, right? Because she was like, that cat's pregnant. And it looks too small to be like pregnant, right? But then whenever she tells me about her mother and the pregnancy thing when she was 19 and then just telling her to pray about it, right? Like that's whenever I knew, right? Like, or whenever I was like thinking back over it and whatnot, I was like, oh, okay, so this all goes together, right? But I had brought allergy treats. I had like I had brought like an array of things for this little pregnant kitty, right? And then whenever she tells me that about her mother and then her needing help and stuff, and her mother just tells her to fucking pray about it. Could you imagine? Could you fucking imagine? Starving and someone telling you to fucking pray about it. Could you fucking imagine? Could you imagine me being at a fucking gas station with zero money and zero gas in my fucking tank and someone telling me to fucking pray about it when you ask them for help. Could you fucking imagine? Could you fucking imagine? That actually happened to me once, right? That happened to me. That happened to me right before I had it ended up having to go like on the truck or whatever, right? I'll tell you how that situation came about, yeah. Well, after the old like ego thing, right? Because at this point, like there is no one that is going to make me feel trapped, right? No one. I do not give a shit, right? I just lost everything in my fucking life. I'm standing in the fucking rubble. I do not give a fuck, right? The only thing that I have left is my choice of how others will treat me, right? That's it. That's all I have. And I am not going to be treated like some fucking um, a fucking animal that you can just fucking bark around and da 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 da, right? No, 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 no. We're not doing that, right? And so I just fucking left, right? So then, well, you know, I don't have the money, right? And so even though I had worked, right, in between driving other people, their employees, right? Because I didn't just leave, because I was driving their employees to and from. Yeah, I was. I didn't have to. Did not, right? And the day that I left, I didn't have to come back and fucking pick them up and drive them all the way back. I didn't, all right? But you know what I did? I went inside after we had our little whatever. Only dude thinks I'm going inside because he just exerted his power over me. No, no, no. I'm going inside to let the people that I know that I drove. I said, listen. And he'd already been fucking pissing everybody off, anyways, right? Like he'd already been just a fucking disease in the place, right? So I went in, let everybody know what the situation was, right? And I said, I will be back to pick you up and take you back. And over a 30, 45 minute, a fucking drive, right? Yeah. I'll be back to pick you up, but I am leaving. Right? And so then I walked back out, lit up my fucking cigarette, and then dude about had a fucking heart attack, right? Couldn't fucking believe it. Yeah. So I left, went to my river, right? Went and sat on the fucking river, went, picked them people up, brought them back, went and took them to get their checks. I'm doing fucking the most with the very least, right? And the people don't fucking see this, right? So I'm doing that, right? And I'm not making enough to be doing this for real, right? But you know, I'm in a tent anyway, so it doesn't really matter, right? Like I don't have any bills anymore, right? So one thing I do know is that whenever life is difficult, the best thing you can do is give and do and be charitous. That's what I know, right? That's how I operate. I always feel when things are uncertain, give and do, right? It's the best way to like keep your spirit up. Yeah. Right. Because like I said, you're never going to look back on goodness and fucking regret it. Right. You're not. You're not. So, anyways, I end up from doing this, right, for others. Yeah. With no money. After I had driven and done all the right, like, and I was at a gas station, and for all of you fucking Christian people, oh, Tennessee's such a nice state. Well, yeah, because they're fucking selling you something. Duh. Right? People have this fucking delusion that whenever they go into these places, these people are nice to you because they're good people. No, they're nice to you because that's in the fucking script, right? They're selling you something, right? So they're gonna be nice to you, right? Right? That's part of the play. That's part of the play. You gotta be nice, right? Those are the conditions, right? It's not authenticity. You act the way I want you to act if you want me to pay you, right? But catch them outside of that, and they don't want nothing to do with it, yeah? One time there was a fucking veteran on the side of the road, right? During this time, yeah? And I stopped and picked him up. And do you know, I took him to a church, and they fucking turned him away. So then I took him to a hotel, and the hotel helped him. Yeah. Facts. In Tennessee. In Pigeon Forge. Gamblesville, yeah. But anyways, I went up to this woman, right? And I'm not a fucking drug addict. I don't look like a fucking drug addict, okay? I don't. And she didn't want nothing to do with it. You know what I said to her? I said, I really hope this don't happen to your daughter one day. And she helped. Right. Sometimes you have to remind people. And that's sad. Right? That's sad. But anyways, those lessons will then further on down the road, right, after the fuckery calms, right, you can work on balancing. What becomes important is balancing boundaries and learning when this was the greatest thing I ever learned. After doing all of that and my fucking block blew and I'm just crying in a gas station, right? Just fucking crying. Like my whole world has just fucking fell apart and I don't have anyone to help me and I don't have any support, right? Like, you know, there is this moment where you're like, Jesus, fucking take the wheel. Like you just have to fucking let it go. You have to let go, right? You have to fucking let go. Like, you have to, right? Because it is just too fucking, it's all just too fucking heavy, right? There was a truck driver, right? I had gone in and let the people in there know, like, you know, bawling my eyes out, like, this is the issue, like, blah, 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 right? And so I guess the truck driver had asked about me, was talking to the clerks or whatever, came out, he tried to put antifreeze in the car. It was done. It was done, right? It was done. And he was like, well, I don't know what your plans are or what you're doing. He said, but, you know, I'm heading to California and you are more than welcome to like come along. I don't want anything from you. No. Right. And so I did, right? I had 2 bags, right, with like some clothes and my tent and all of those things. And so I grabbed my bags and asked them if I could leave the car there, right? And that's what I did, right? Because it was what I took from that was there is a time to give and there is a time to receive, right? I have given, I have given, I have given. Now, people who want to do it all, right? Who want to do it all on their own, sometimes that's not the best way, right? You have to make time for times when you give, and then there are going to be times when you need to receive, right? That time was a time for me to receive. And what was I to focus on during this time? Paying attention, right? Like we are right now. Paying attention to our interactions, what it's teaching us emotionally, how we can process this, where we are, right? And then we can gauge our process by how we respond, right? Like that's how you gauge your emotional maturity, right? And so then you start learning to set boundaries, right? That comes much later on, right? You learn to set boundaries, right? No, you do not have access to me in this way, right? Like, and learning to say no, right? Because we can feel obligated, or this and it's obligation is a horrible place to work from. It will lead to resentment 100% of the time, right? That's why I'm a firm believer. If I don't feel something, right, I'm not just doing something out of habit, right? Like I'm not because someone expects me to. I'm just not, right? Like I want to know that whenever I feel the emotion, the that natural it would be that natural do something for this person, right? Because they need this, right? They call it the voice of God or whatever, right? Like you know the difference. You know the difference. You should know the difference. If you don't, then you should really like pay attention to that, all right? Yeah. Because if the world paid more attention to that than paying attention to what society expects, or blah, 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 or what just looks good, right? Just because you do something that looks good doesn't mean that it feels good. It doesn't feel good if you don't do it for the right reasons, right? It don't feel good if you feel obligated to do it. It don't feel good whenever it's just some expectation, right? It doesn't feel good. There's a big difference in doing something because it's from an authentic place and doing something because it's a scripted place, right? There's doing things on the surface expectation, and there's doing something because you deeply understand, right? Or you deeply feel XYZ, right? And only if you're aware and mindful and doing like what I'm doing with this current like situation right now, can you grasp the full understanding and scope of why this is so important to like be mindful of, be aware of, pay attention, work through, right? Because it's a continuous, like, we should be continuously trying to, like, iron these wrinkles out, right? Because they're just going to keep showing up. They're just going to keep showing up, right? So they're going to keep showing up. Are you going to keep responding in the same way? Or are you going to try and work through it the proper way and respond in a different way because it's natural? It is now natural through an overtime process, right? Does anyone expect all those people who've had their homes destroyed by by forces outside of their control, right? Forces outside of their control. Does anyone expect them next day to have all their shit together again, right? Do they? No, no, they have a huge support system helping them, don't they? They're relying on people to fucking help them. What happens when you don't have that? How long do you think it takes to rebuild by yourself? That's why the shit was laughable, right? That's why the shit was fucking laughable. And then whenever you get into a place after fucking building all the shit up and blah, 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 and you say, okay, now I've done what I needed to do, right? Like, here I am, let's have a discussion, right? Because I, with no support and with no blah, 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 have managed to rebuild like the physical means and whatnot, right? Myself, no mama helping me, no grandmama helping me, no state helping me, no people helping me, right? Nobody. Like the help that I had was a big rig, right? Right? Oh, I went to go see my friend, who my only friend during that time, right? I went to go see my friend whenever I was back in town. And you know what I did? I took a bus because I was in Knoxville. I took a bus. I had my tent. I had things I had collected along my travels, right? Like somebody from the military gave me like a first aid things and whatnot, and I had like socks and stuff. Wintertime was coming, right? And so I took a bus down to Magnolia, right? That's where all the homeless population is, right? Because I had already been taking food down there from these rich people who wanted me to just throw shit out, right? Like I wasn't gonna do that. The French don't do that. Okay. So, anyways, so I was already familiar with the homeless population because I spent a lot of time fucking helping them on my own. Okay. I took the tent, the sleeping bag, the care kit. I intentionally put together a little care kit, much like I did for the kitty, right? Took it down there and I left it. And whenever I got on the bus driver said, "Oh, you left your things out there." I said, "No." I said, "I don't need it anymore." I said, "It would be much better used here. It's really cold." So I've put together these things so that whoever needs it will find it, right? Like that godly thing, like, oh man, I just don't know what I'm going to do, but here God. It's God, right? It's God. It's God. That's God. And I'll leave that there.